Regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Venus ISD to order on July 17th, 2023 at 7 p.m. And we do have a quorum. And if everyone will stand, Joe, will you lead us in the invocation? And we would like to welcome all of our guests tonight. Did anybody sign up, Rosie, to speak? No? Okay. So we'll go to item number 5, presentation of campus reports. We don't have any of our principals here, so did everybody have I feel like that's echoey. Is that better? Okay, did everybody have an opportunity to look at the campus reports, and does anybody have any questions on any of them? No? Okay. So we'll move on to item number 6, presentation of AP program performance update.
All right, for our student growth performance, we're going to look at our AP program. So the AP program, we started in Venus 6 years ago. So this is the 6th year that we've participated in the AP program. You can scroll up for me. All right, so just a look from 2018, which was our first year to give an AP exam, to today. You can kind of see 2018, we started with about 20 students taking AP test. Now we're at almost 100. And then looking at number of students scoring a 3 or higher. So looking at 2018, we had a few students. So you can see as the years progress, 2019 we have 5, 2022 we have almost 22, 23 students, so that's scoring a 3 or higher. All right, and here's a look at potential college hours. So AP exams, if you get a 3 or higher, and depending on your score, whether you get a 3, 4, or 5, you can actually get 3 hours, 6 hours, up to 14 hours of college at most of the state schools. So here's a look at just the potential college hours that our students have earned by scoring a 3 or higher on those AP exams. So starting in 2020, you see 2020, 2021, and 2022. And then a look at the AP subjects offered, and this is the number of classes or subjects that we offer. So starting in 2018 and 2019, which was our first year, we offered 1 AP class. 2020, we offered 2. You can see in 2021, we offered 5. The last 2 years, we scaled back due to staffing. And then we do have some really cool things coming for next year. So we're adding 3 AP subjects. We're adding AP Spanish language back in, which is one we had previously had and the students did really, really well on. We're also adding in studio art, which is a portfolio based, and it's not a test based. So even students who may not be the best test takers are able to do portfolio pieces all year, and then they submit those portfolio pieces, and then they're graded on that. So in general, students do really, really well with the studio arts, and they're able to choose the medium that they want to work with. So do they want to do drawing or 3D? So that's really exciting for next year. All right, and then here's just a little bit of data. So here's some data for AP, even students who take an AP test and score a 1 or a 2. It's really hard for us. A lot of people consider 3 or higher passing and 1 or 2 failing. So we try not to look at it that way. So even students that score a 1 or a 2, they have a much, much higher percentage of college enrollment and of doing better in college once they're in a 4-year university. So you can see students that score an AP, an average score of 2 or 1. So an AP student, even if they score a 2, there's 75% probability of enrolling in a four-year university, as opposed to a student who has not taken an AP test, which is only a 56%. If you'll scroll to the next slide, please.
Crystal, do we have a way to break it down by like grade level of each student, like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and kind of where they land and kind of how they progress throughout the 4 years?
We do, absolutely. And you can really see that progression. For example, our freshmen in general, we have a much lower pass rate for freshmen. But then we were actually looking at it today with one of our AP teachers. All summer, we've been doing AP data. They've been attending AP Summer Institutes. So the world history teacher wanted to see the human geography scores so that he can see where are my students at. And then also look at, those were his students last year. Most students that take one AP, even if they take and get a 1 or a 2, they take an AP class the next year. So they're actually more likely to continue in the AP program. So you can really see that progression as well. But yes, we can do that by grade level. All right, and here's some more data. This is relatively how well they do when they go into an introductory college course. So again, these students are students that have scored a 2 on the AP test. So you can see for the different subjects that they're much more prepared when they do take those introductory college level courses. Right, and if you'll scroll down, and finally, just some stuff, like I mentioned before, this summer, what we've been doing is our teachers that are new to AP or the courses that we're adding have been going to AP Summer Institutes at TCU, so we've been working with them. We have to do course audits. We have to go in and submit syllabuses to College Board, make sure that we get that approved. For next year, we're really, really excited. We're bringing back one former AP class, which is Spanish, and we're adding some new subjects. We have also added pre-AP. So last year, we integrated our first pre-AP classes. We started with 2 of them. So previously, those classes had been honors. So what was honors is now pre-AP. That just means that we get the designation, that College Board designation that actually goes on their transcript, as well as the curriculum support from College Board. So we've integrated that. We started with 2 subjects last year. We started with English, and those are vertically aligned. So when they're in the AP classes, they're already learning some of those themes and some of those concepts that they will see later on in AP. This year, we are adding 4 additional pre-AP classes, so our honors classes would be converted to pre-AP classes. And then this year, we will have the largest AP enrollment to date, so we'll have more students than we've ever had taking an AP test, so we're very, very excited about that. Questions?
How many kids do we actually have enrolled in AP classes?
For next year?
Yes.
Let me do the quick math. Well, just in Spanish alone, we have almost 50. 20 in art, 70, 90, 130. It's going to be over 150 next year.
And so why did we take away the Spanish and bringing it back this year?
We never wanted to take it away. We didn't have a teacher. So for AP, you have to, the teacher has to be certified in AP. They have to go to that AP Summer Institute or AP training. Otherwise they can't. And the teacher that we had that taught AP left. And so then we did not hire, and we weren't able to get in one of our existing teachers into an AP Summer Institute last year. Absolutely broke my heart. But that's the way it happened. So those students, though, that didn't get a chance to take it, because AP Spanish is not grade level specific. So if they've taken Spanish 1 or Spanish 2, and we've even integrated a placement test for our native speakers. AP Spanish language is not grade specific. So we have students of all grades taking it. And that's why we have a much bigger enrollment this year, because the students that didn't get a chance to take it last year, unless they were seniors, but everybody who's still at the high school, they will all have a chance to take it this year. So that's why we have we have pretty big enrollment for AP Spanish this year, the biggest we've ever seen.
What were the other 2 classes?
That we're adding?
Yeah, you said there was 3. Spanish was one of them.
That we're adding next. We're adding AP Studio Art, and we're adding AP Physics, which we have an experienced AP Physics teacher, but he had not, for AP, again, you have to have a certain kind of training. You have to be certified by College Board every 3 years. And so he had not done his AP Summer Institute in 3 years. So he's actually this week, he's at AP Summer Institute. So he's actually experienced in AP. He's taught AP before. So physics, studio art, and AP Spanish are the ones we're adding for next year. And we specifically picked AP classes that do not contradict dual credit. So if students want to take dual credit, they can take dual credit and they can take AP or one or the other. We didn't want students to have to pick one or the other. They can take both or one or the other. So students can still be in P-TECH. It does not, again, compete against P-TECH at all. So for example, world history. Students have to take world history as a sophomore, regardless of whether they're in P-TECH or not, because that's part of our state curriculum. And so instead of taking regular world history, they're able to take AP world history. And then they're able to, it weights their GPA, so it is a more rigorous class. We're using a College Board curriculum. They're doing college level writing, college level themes, college level subject matter, and then they're able to take the test. If they take the test and they get a 3 or higher, they're able to get awards like AP Scholar, and national recognition programs, which every single one of our students qualify for because we're considered rural. So in some bigger districts, not all students qualify for that, but any of our students that take it, get a 3 or higher, and they meet certain criteria, they can either get an AP Scholar or a recognition program award. And also 3 or higher, they get college credit. So that's the big thing usually for them, is they get college credit. And then another example is Spanish. So for Spanish, Spanish is an elective. So they don't have to take it, but they can. For Spanish, if they take it and get a 4 or a 5, they get up to 14 hours of college credit for that. And for our students, our native speakers who were able to test out a Spanish 1 or 2, they can take this as their second year of foreign language, so it's not taking up additional space in their schedule. So if they were in P-TECH, they could still participate in P-TECH that way. You're welcome. All right, you're welcome.
We'll go to item number 7, presentation of summative report for campus improvement plans and district improvement plan.
Okay, y'all ready to sit for an hour? This piece is simply, at the end of each year, our campuses as well as our district committees have to sit down and analyze basically what our goals were through the course of the year. And we do it quarterly, 4 times. So we're incrementally looking at our steps. And so in June, once the school year's over, we look at our final tally. Did we meet it? Did we not? And then once we get through the meeting tomorrow, I will roll the campus and district plans over so that when our staff comes back in August, they're readjusting based on some of the incremental, they made it, they didn't, up it, adjust it, those sorts of things. And so if you had an opportunity to look at this, or if you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer anything. But understand these are some very lengthy documents. They will all look the same because one of the things that we've done is our district plan is our major outline, and then each campus goes in, and as you can see here, just very simple. In June, can you zoom that up, Rosie? Our goal, we met 100%. The next goal, it shows the blue arrow. That means we're going to modify and continue. Okay, we didn't quite get there, but we're going to modify and continue. So if you're looking at these plans, which all of you got these in your board book, that's how we assess the end of the year. So we either made it or we didn't. We modify and continue, or we scrap it and we move to something else. Because, ultimately in this whole process of things, I don't know which one you're on, but you need to get on a different one because that one doesn't show anything. Some of these goals are district goals, so it's kind of an overarching goal. But the campus is going in student performance. We're here, and our goal by the end of the year, when we get our results back, this is our goal. And so that's what this is. understand also that this is a living and breathing document. If we got to January and saw that this goal is not a viable goal, that the campus can go back in and adjust it, because we're not moving in the direction that we need to move to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish with our kids. Any thoughts, questions, or concerns on that?
So if you go and look at the district one, it's the very last one, but if you go in there, all of March, none of them have anything on there. Why was March, most of March was not put in there? Why did we not score on some of those?
They should have all been scored. I'll have to go pull those up. Okay.
And then you've got some that we're having to modify, even though we made 100% in March, but that means we didn't make it in June, correct?
Correct. And if you look at that one right there, and I can't read it because it's all blurry, but we were at about 50% on our strategy. And then by the end of the year, we didn't quite meet that goal, so we're going to modify and continue that goal moving forward.
Are we modifying it to make it an easier goal?
No. When you look at the data, whether it be MAP scores, and all of you have been inundated with MAP scores and student growth and those sorts of things at the beginning of the year, because when we roll this over, they will go back in and look at where they ended and adjust that. That's why it's modify and continue. We set this goal, we didn't quite accomplish it based on our scores and our student growth, so we'll adjust it so it's an attainable goal moving forward.
So we're adjusting it to make it where we can meet the goal.
Well, so
Versus adjusting what we're
not that
doing.
we're lowering the standard, but based on our student outcomes, you know, it might be 2 percentage points that we adjust, if that makes any sense. Say no, it's called punt. No, I'm just kidding.
So then, okay, so like I'm looking at this one on the district one, it says provide mentor teachers to all new teachers, and we got a 5 in November, nothing in January, nothing in March, and then 100% in June. Then you go down and you go to
Which one are you
strategy
looking at?
3.
Which strategy? Which
It's
goal?
page 10, or
Which goal?
it says,
Which
It's
goal?
Title One, 2.5, or
But what goal is it? Is that goal 1, 2?
it says goal 4.
Goal 4, and then which performance objective is it?
3.
Okay.
So like, keep going down, Rosie.
And just because we reached
so look-
100%,
okay, so look, go
scroll back up.
just- So right there, that one says 5%, nothing in January, nothing in March, but then 100% in June. And then on strategy 3, it says gather feedback on climate and culture via staff surveys and response. We had a 10, nothing, 100. So how did we make that change?
Student goal, observations and conferences with teachers to review lesson plans. So it means by this point in time, we had just got started in November. By this point in time, we had met with all the teachers on the staff to meet that strategy.
But on the, so
But
at the
I'm
bottom,
talking
we
about-
didn't.
I'm talking about
measure it.
strategy 1 and strategy 3,
yeah, with it,
where it's a 5% and then a.
So we
0,
didn't
0.
measure it in January and March, is that correct?
No, it should have been measured.
Look at the one right below where you were doing.
Yeah, the one right there.
Yes.
Gather feedback on climate and culture.
So it just looks like we didn't measure it
Right.
until June.
Right. We didn't put out a climate survey until the spring.
And if I may, yeah, this, just coming in new and seeing this, that's common. You're not necessarily doing a survey in November, January, March, and June. So typically at the end of the year, you're gonna also do a survey and get feedback from your folks. You don't necessarily have to do one of those in June and in March.
So that's just the standard format to
Yes.
have the November, January, March, June.
Within
not all of them
within
are
the
measured
system,
At that,
there's a
those intervals.
quarterly, we analyze quarterly whether or not that was one of the terms that we met during that quarter or not. Ultimately, by the end of the school year, you know, we want to be 100%. Some of them aren't, but that's where you go in and look at the data and move forward. Any other questions? I'm not, yeah, I'm up next. Okay, on the SHAC committee, the main thing that I need you to understand is there are 2 changes within our SHAC VISD wellness plans. One of them you already voted and approved. We have to include that within the plan, and that is the use of Narcan, which you previously voted on. The other one is a new one in the fact that we have partnered with the Johnson County Advocacy Center. And so they are providing services as far as SELs, social emotional. Should we have an event, they will provide counseling and support and those sorts of things, and they will also visit with the campuses. So if there's a particular situation at a campus that needs to be addressed, they have the qualified personnel to come in and do, whether it's an 8th grade assembly, a 6th grade assembly, that sort of thing. And so that's the 2 changes that are taking place in the wellness plan.
And then they also send counselors if we had a situation like that?
Yes,
If
they
had to- Okay.
they have the resources to pull in, should we have, whatever the situation may be, and I'm not gonna name any of them, but should we need their support because of our partnership with them, they would provide us additional counseling, those sorts of things. And hopefully, hopefully we don't get to that point, because they're going to get with campus principals and look at some specifics as far as what are some needs to be addressed for the social emotional health of our kids. Any questions?
Do we have any questions? Any questions? No?
I'll sit down for a little bit.
Thank you.
We'll go to item number 9, presentation of 23-24 employee handbook and employee benefits package.
Sign, right? Okay. And to think I used to be a singer in a rock and roll band. Don't know how to. So it's my first time in front of you guys. I do know that you were presented with the information for the changes in the employee handbook. Basically, a lot of it is just from TASB as far as any legal changes. There was, I did note from past years as far as changes in the employee handbook, there was a lot more probably this time that there has been in the last few years. Particularly what I note is things added, for example, the word termination I saw a lot coming up. So it seems like if there's issues going on, then the district has a little bit more flexibility as far as termination as a possible course of action regarding some situations. But overall, it was pretty basic as far as the language and the type of legal provisions that are given to us by the attorneys from TASB. But if you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain those.
Anybody have any questions?
And then as far as the benefits package, so we were provided with that recently, and so most of the people will get their map basically where it shows all the different plans and how much the plans are, which when I came here, I was very impressed that the district, gives a lot towards the health insurance. That was very impressive to me. And so just based on that, just as an example now, premiums did go up for every plan. The basic plan, the least expensive plan in previous had been $417 a month. Of course, if the district's contributing $350 to that, then you take the $350 from the $417, whatever's left, I think it was $67. And now it's gone up about $44. So the basic plan would now be, instead of $67, it would be $111. So it has gone up a little bit, but and then it goes up according to regions. For example, we are Region 11, so the prices are based on regions, probably because of the data they receive and determine, where are there more likeliness of people using health benefits or not, and what types of health issues are they looking at in order to price accordingly by demographics and regions. But that was basically the biggest thing, is that they did go up a little bit. And folks that are registering and getting in there right now are getting information from FF Enroll as far as how to enroll and all the different changes. So the enrollment period will end August 17th of 2023. Thank you.
We'll move to item number 10, presentation of student handbooks for 23-24 school year.
Just so you know, TASB just released their student handbook model and their student code of conduct last Tuesday. And so our campuses have worked very diligent in trying to mold them. And ultimately, Rosie, would you pull up the elementary and primary? The elementary and primary handbook mirror each other, because just understand there are certain expectations at primary and elementary versus middle school versus high school. So the secondaries, there's a little bit of tweaks going on there. And if you look down at the bottom, can you see that number? There's a bunch of pages. Some of what you need to understand is when TASB sends this out, there are green marks and there are blue marks. Green marks are green marks that we can make adjustments to. Blue marks are standard changes within the handbook based on the recent legislation. We can go through all 97 pages of this if you would like. Okay. Yeah. But once you start looking at the handbooks, if you have a question or a concern, I've looked through all of them, and there's not any major deviations from what we've typically done in the past. So if you catch something and you're like, well, what the heck is that going on? And this is one of those livable documents. Once we get school started, if we go through here and we say, we might need to adjust this a little bit, we can go in and change the student handbook to make it viable. Typically, we don't do that, but you never say never. Any questions?
Thank you. We will move to item number 11, the consent agenda. Did anybody have any questions on anything or want anything pulled out? No?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, a motion by Amber, a second.
I'll second.
Second by Chad. All in favor? Motion carries. You got that? Okay. We will go to item number 12, executive session to cover 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, 551.071 at 7:28 p.m. We'll go to item number 13, reconvene from executive session at 8:38 PM. And we will go to item number 14, consider approval of matters related to personnel, resignations, employment, position, or contract amendment. And then,
I will make a motion to consider approval of the chief financial officer pay scale.
I'll second.
a motion by Kirby, second by Amber, all in favor? Motion passes. We'll go to item B, consider approval to hire chief financial officer.
I'll make a motion to approve, the hire of the chief financial officer.
Motion by Amber, second. Second by Jay. All in favor? Okay, the motion passes.
We need a photo.
Welcome, Miss Mayo. Yeah, come on up if you'd like. Like to get a picture of you down here. Yeah, come on down, take a picture.
You ready for my antiques ready?
You should probably stand behind her.
No.
Why not?
Oh, you want all of us in it? No, Kirby just left, sorry. Good. Great picture for yourself. Have a good job.
Amber. I know.
I see a mugshot that may find it. I want it for something.
Okay, I just want to say, just super excited to have Miss Mayo on board with her experience and all that she's done. She's just really excited to be here and we're very fortunate. Would you like to say anything?
Just thank you all. Thank you all so much for the opportunity. I am very excited to be here and just kind of being kind of closer to home. And I've been working, I was at Dallas ISD and Garland and kind of outside of my community for so long. So I'm really glad to have the opportunity to come back this way and be a part of the growth of the district. And I think there's going to be a lot of great things coming. And it was really nice to have the opportunity to sit with you all during executive session. And you have such a great
We
team.
inundated her with, you don't know what goes on in this part of the world, you're in that one.
Yeah.
Hopefully the traffic's better getting.
It was a lot better, yeah, there were no wrecks on the way here tonight, and so, yeah, that was really
We
nice.
played
but
Name That Tune, and all kinds of
It
stuff.
was an eventful session, so, yeah, thank you guys.
We'll
so
see you at
much.
work tomorrow, 8 AM.
Okay, yeah.
For sure.
Somewhere, yeah.
Thank you. Welcome.
We'll go to item number 15, consider approval of VISD Safe and Supportive School Program Threat Assessment Team. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the VISD Safe and Supportive School Program Threat Assessment.
I'll second it.
A motion by Amber, a second by Chad. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Go to item number 16, consider approval of purchase of welding equipment for the welding lab.
Just need a motion for that.
Got a motion to approve the purchase of welding equipment for a welding lab.
Motion by Kirby, second by Jay.
Question, they accepting the low bid on that?
Yes, we went out for 3 bids, and that 65,000 is the low bid. And just because it's over the threshold of purchase, it's all coming out of grant funds, so it's not local budget. So we just have to get that process started so we have everything in place for the start of the year.
Motion by Kirby, second by Jay. All in favor? Motion carries. Did you feel me staring at you? Go to item number 17, consider approval of purchase of iPads for special education department use.
I'll make a motion to approve the iPads for the SPED department.
Motion was made by Amber,
I'll second it.
second by Chad. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Go to item number 18, consider approval of the purchase of a vehicle for SPED student transportation. Bless you.
I'll make a motion to purchase a vehicle for SPED student transportation.
I'll second.
A motion by Kirby, second by Amber. All in favor? Motion carries. Item 19, consider approval of the 23-24 Student Code of Conduct.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Student Code of Conduct.
A motion by Kirby, do we have a second? Second by Amber, all in favor? Motion carries. Item number 20, consider approval of TWC grant and budget amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve the TWC grant and budget amendment.
Motion by Amber, do we have a second by Chad, all in favor? Motion carries. Item number 21, consider approval of TASB Risk Fund renewal proposal for the 23-24 coverage year.
I make a motion to consider the approval of the TASB Risk Fund renewal proposal for 23-24 coverage year.
A motion by Jay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Amber, all in favor? Motion carries. We got item number 22, reports.
Yes, so here, you've got your finance reports attached here. If you've got any questions, then I certainly will entertain any of those. If I don't have the answer, I'll get it for you. If not, we'll go down to, Exactly, yes. The reports are attached, yes.
Any questions?
Okay, P-TECH program.
Can you pull up the one pager? I know there's still some questions out there as far as the upcoming P-TECH program. And so Regina put together this one pager to answer some of those questions, understanding with the fact that this is baby steps. We start with incoming freshmen, 23-24. Those freshmen will go to sophomores, the incoming freshmen, and we'll just gradually step it up. We're looking at the addition of some more programs for the 24-25 year to encapsulate more students, but it's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is an elephant.
So out of how many ninth graders do we have?
About 180. You can pretty much say 180 across the board.
And then
19 that are enrolled in this.
54.
No.
54.
Yeah.
Well, welding's not a P-TECH program this year.
It will, they will be coded P-TECH. Because
Told us last month that it was not in.
they don't start their associates until they're a sophomore. Here's where some of the confusion takes place, is the fact that we're going to have two welding paths. We'll have the P-TECH path, and then we'll have the regular welding path. The P-TECH path is, we have an adjunct professor that can teach Hill College courses credit. The other side of that is those that choose not to go with the P-TECH, they're still going to get their AWS D1, D9, all the certifications that we've always offered. It's just not going to be for college credit. We're not a limit, huh?
I'm sorry, can I ask why that is? Because if they're already going through all of it, why would we split that? I'm just,
Why are we offering two different programs?
Availability and space and safety. Because currently we have more kids that want to get into the program. Ultimately, if you're willing to go out and build a third welding lab and hire a third teacher, we could fill it up.
I'm confused when you say that, because you're saying there's two programs. We have 38 that are gonna be in the P-TECH part that's going to have one pathway. But then we're gonna also offer already the other kids in the
Yes.
other spot. So we're not having to add anything, correct? Because we're already offering both programs, but we're just doing one in a P-TECH and one in a regular.
Correct. And here's where the transition takes place, is the fact since I've been here, we've had the opportunity that we had two instructors that were adjunct professors. We as a school district paid for 9 hours of dual credit for our welding kids. Of those kids, only a handful of them took advantage of that. Most kids, and this is talking with kids, is they just want to learn to weld. They want to go to the workforce. our number one welder 2 years ago, they only wanted to learn how to weld so they could weld with daddy on the weekend. They had no desire to go into the welding industry. We've had a handful of kids each year that have gone straight into industry because they had the welding certs. This takes it to the next level.
Okay, so with you saying that though, why are we even putting P-TECH as a welding part when you've just said that we have kids that aren't wanting to take it to the next level?
Because you can get an associate's degree, and that gives you a
Right,
leg
but if
up.
they're just going to the industry or they're just going to weld with dad, then why are we paying the extra money, or why are we, I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Well, it's real simple. The P-TECH program is grant funded. We've put grants together up to $1.8 million to cover the expense of this. The board and as a district, we have to delineate some things in the fact that what is the best path for the student? You know, we have students that go on to Lincoln Tech and they go to TSTA or TSTC and those sorts of things. But giving them the opportunity to get that leg up, because most industries, they want the most qualified person. And so having all your industry-based certifications plus an associate's degree and the option to get a bachelor's in that same field gives them a leg up. Kids that have no desire to participate in this but still want to weld can have that option. I mean, I don't know how to more clarify that than there are more 8th graders coming into 9th grade than we have space for that want to be welders. We're having to fracture those out. Of those 38 students, that's 2 classes.
Well, I mean, I think it's fine myself, a kid who just wanted to take it to weld with daddy on the weekend.
Yep,
And sometime, that might change for that kid.
exactly.
And something big come out of this, because unfortunately, daddy won't be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be his time to take off.
Right.
And do something big.
And that's the thing is, you know very well, just having a certification to walk in the door of a business isn't always the leg up. You've had the experience and you've been in the shop, and I can stick and MIG and TIG and all those things. Those don't necessarily get you to the next leg up. And that's what the P-TECH program is about.
I'm just having a hard time wrapping my brain around. I mean, I get the kid who just wants to learn how to do that. I'm just having a hard time. Why, if they're already going through all of the classes and they're going to get the same certifications and they're going,
Not.
So it's just an elective.
The-
It's just
the
a
P-
hobby.
The P-TECH is specifically designed so as they go through the program, there will be certain criteria within the Hill College program that they get their college credit.
But then, so I guess my question is, why are we not pushing them, the ones that are just wanting, you know, instead of having just 38 students, why are we not making it where we have more students for the P-TECH program instead of just what we're doing now?
Because many of our students don't want to do college level courses.
Yeah, I mean, if we make them do something, odds are they're not gonna pass.
Right. And that's the infinite difference. In the P-TECH program, you're taking college level courses.
They're working towards their associate.
Yes.
Whereas it was like my son, he graduated, he just had the basic
Mhm.
certification. So when he went to Hill College, he wanted to get his associates, he still had to take all his other college
Exactly.
classes that he wasn't getting in high school already. So he was gonna have.
And guess who paid for that?
I think if you were forcing me to go on and take I wouldn't, I'm not just gonna be out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm afraid that's what would happen to some of our kids if we push that. So they ought to have the option of just taking a path and just wanting to be a welder.
Right. And that's their option. But if they want to transition into the next level, to the more advanced, that's where the associate degree in the P-TECH comes through.
There's a lot of them that even when it was my son, it was like, he wanted to go more.
Your son got 9 hours of dual credit.
But if he wanted to get more advanced, which he'd either go to Lincoln Tech or these other schools where he was then gonna have to take more college-ready courses, et cetera. We're doing it
in-house.
in-house, and it's not costing them.
Right, no, I get that. I guess my question is we have students, these ninth graders that started last year. You're saying this doesn't start until their sophomore year. So are the freshmen that started this last year,
Mhm.
they're going to be sophomores, are they able to jump into this P-TECH program that they've already had?
You know,
And so you talk about the transition piece. So let's say they're doing just the basic welding and then they think, oh, well, maybe I do want to do a degree out of this. They can't transition.
right.
Because they didn't come in at an entry level.
Entry level, right.
So I guess that's where I'm having a hard time is, as I'm not using the word force. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying encouraging them because they're 14 years old saying, well, I don't want to do college level classes. Well,
Right.
I get at a 14-year-old level, that's hard to wrap your brain around, but engaging mom and dad and saying, hey, this is the opportunity, and I'm sure there's funding that comes with the kids that we're putting through the P-TECH program
Correct.
and that completion. Because from what I heard, and I forget her name, talking about P-TECH, we were taking away a lot of those dual credit classes like that.
Well,
That really didn't.
They weren't
end.
relevant. They didn't, there wasn't an end game in it. They weren't relevant.
Right. So
And the
with
district was
this-
paying exorbitant amount of money for kids to take intermediate basket weaving or whatever the heck it was.
Right.
Well, at some point, that's on us as a district to counsel our children on what they should and shouldn't take.
Yes.
And I think that's what was happening. There were
Right.
repetitive classes being taken that they didn't need, and that we weren't doing our job as a district. We were just giving them a piece of paper and say, check everything you want. And they
Correct.
were
And
taking,
that's part of this process with starting the P-TECH. It's more intensive as far as counseling, advisement, all the things, so that when you look at the school redesign model, and I'm not just talking P-TECH, I'm talking up and down. Our elementary kids in the next 3 years, when they go into middle school, are gonna have a better idea about possible pathways that they could be interested in. I agree with you. We have to do a better job of educating our kids because it's very simple. My older brother went into welding. That's what I want to do. They don't know if they want to do that or not. You know,
They'll be 21 or 2 or 3 and not know what they're gonna do.
exactly.
so I have
Yeah.
a question back to, though, if the welding P-TECH doesn't start till you're a sophomore.
They are put into the P-TECH program with the initial steps.
And when you're a freshman?
Yes. Their college credit starts as a sophomore because they have to have that introduction into welding.
So, but does everybody, whether you just want to take welding as an elective and I don't want to get my associates and I do want to do the P-TECH, are those not the same introductory classes
Different. It's a different level.
as a freshman?
Yes.
So that's why the freshmen can't,
Right.
who have done it, they can't pick
It's
it up.
it's a different level of expectation as far as your ability.
Okay, so then, that's where I was, so with that, could we not make the entry level the same for everybody, their freshman year?
Why?
Why? Because what if they don't really truly know, just like, I mean, I'm 45, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be an astronaut.
I don't want to grow up. I still want to be a kid.
But, I mean, so that's what I'm saying, so if we put it there and say, this is the expectation that
Mhm.
you're gonna have to do for the next 4 years, if you wanna do it, great, if not, you've got the introduction, you know how to do it, but it just gives them a leg up if they wanna go ahead and go forth with it.
Well,
And instead of having 2 totally different classes where we can.
there
accommodate-
is a difference between an introductory kid that just wants to learn how to weld and a kid that wants to do that.
Is it the same class though when you're a
No.
freshman? So it's totally different classes.
Yes.
The
Where the
welding for the freshmen, so it's 2 different welding classes.
Yes.
But why couldn't it be? This may be what
And
has
it
already
should-
been.
and it
Why
should
couldn't it be
too
this?
different, because before you're gonna start getting in this, to really go to college for that, I mean, you need to have a year of learning how to do that first, looks like.
But is it not the same?
Wouldn't
Maybe I just need to come see the classes. I think I'd probably understand better, to be honest.
Right.
I think I would understand it.
To do the P-TECH, I would've thought you might have a year in, getting some experience and learning how to weld and cut.
I just don't understand why it wouldn't be the same class, and then if you
For
want to go
introduction,
P-TECH,
that's
you
what you're
can.
talking about, introduction.
No, I don't. I think I just need to see the classes to understand.
It's a different level.
Okay, any other PTAC questions? No.
And it's very simple for those of you that are still having some questions about this. Get in contact with me. Get in contact with me, and I can show you, I can lay it completely out. As far as this is this, and this is this, and this is this, and this is this.
Any other questions?
Okay, you've got the rest of the reports there attached. And we are going to go to transportation. So come on up, Melanie, and give us an update here in transportation.
Righty, there should be a presentation coming up. Oh, I'm gonna grab this too. You wanna do this? Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm gonna also help in, just because sometimes the communication piece is where I help out with that stuff. So I did, Melanie and I and Hollis, Dr. Torres, we kind of got together and we talked about the bus view. Y'all wanted to know some information regarding that. And so we just kind of went through, and if you'll go to the next slide. History on bus view, or on transportation in general. You know, there was a need for a solution, and so Melanie went through the process and she got some bids, and then Busview became one of those solutions. It provided for students, parents, and the ISD. It encompassed all of those things. Allowed us to monitor fleet, the white fleet, the buses, any vehicle that was leaving. Go to the next one, Rosie. Features of Busview. So this is what this app does offer. It offers the tracking, so it tracks the bus real time on a map. We'll address some of the issues with some of these things in just a moment. The digital resources, no more paper and pen. She's a kind of a one-man show over there, so if we were paper and pen, I can't even imagine how that would translate out in real time. Easy reporting. There is a cloud storage and a backup that this application offers, so that's helpful for storage purposes. Student protection, you'll know when the student gets on, they scan their card. This is on field trips. This is when they're going to and from home. This is anytime they're getting on that bus. The driver view, I'm going to kind of put these two together, because the driver view, it also creates a digital record for these kids that we can pull up at any given moment. The driver view gives that tablet. Our kids could get on the bus and they could scan, and just like when you're at a grocery store, you hear beeps all day long. Well, we can hear beeps all day long, but the tablet, which is, I believe, was an upgraded feature on this.
Yes.
That tablet allows us to actually see that the kid did get on and off. So it's just an extra step of safety, that we're not scanning that grocery and like, oh, I missed that one, or that was a beep from somewhere else. That driver view gives them that actual view that the child did register. You know, because sometimes, let's say we had a malfunction, we scanned, it's not registering. Now it's registered, and then that driver can actually see that.
Right.
Parent services, there is a request to change the pickup. There's a real-time bus location. There are field trip notifications, and allowed authorized locations for your kids. Y'all use this app? Yes? No?
My child's not found.
Your child's what?
Not found.
Okay. We'll address issues in just a minute. Built-in safety. There's a built-in integration for the offender registry that will, there's a map at the end, you'll see this. There are little red X's that come up, and we can avoid dropping a child off from right in front of a sex offender's home. There is a cross-check in student data to match up siblings too. That just helps with reporting and things on Melanie's end.
Right.
Next. Challenges. So, I've been looking through our website, and I just clicked this link because I wanted to see what it did when it was on our website. And we're saying, here, we're providing you with a link, and this should be your end all be all. It should help you, and it didn't. It was an atrocious link. I don't know how it got on there, but what we did to fix that, because it doesn't matter how it got on there, matters what we do with it. I went in and found the proper link, so people can now go on, and it takes them right to the registration page. They're not having to search. Yes.
When did you find that? Like
last week-
recently?
Last week?
Oh, okay.
Yes. And so, well, I won't pull, I don't think I can pull up our internet. I've done some work and some stuff to make sure some of our links are a little.
recently that
Last week, yeah, last week. And so I updated that because it gave you the website and you had to search and more than 2 to 3 clicks and we're out, okay? It needs to go directly to it, so we did do that. There's information updated and scoured so parents can have easier access to students. And I think some of your problems, Amber, and probably some problems, very common problems, are that maybe there just wasn't anybody to go to with the problems, because I don't know about this position before I got here, but people are starting to email me. So like, if you would have had a problem with BusView, you would have gone on here to the website. Where would you have emailed?
Transportation.
Okay, and if you couldn't have gotten an answer, 'cause she's a one-man show, if you didn't get an answer, what would you do after that? Okay, I don't know if they know, but hopefully too, we're adding layers. Y'all have chosen to add positions, which is great for this district. You've added another layer. I'm getting a lot of emails from people when we're sending it out. It's just one more layer of, hey, we're checking on this. We're making sure we're getting our stuff updated. App notifications when you drop off, when you're near. So they're saying there's a delay build in the program. Melanie went back to them. This is one of the things that they were open to changing. You want to speak to that real
Right.
quick?
So some of the lag time in the issue, initially, we had a problem with the cellular service, mostly out in the homesteads because there was a tower issue. So they rewrote the program so that our tablets downloaded and they weren't having to go back and forth every single scan that students made. But what it can't do is it can't correct for your cellular provider if you have old equipment and if you have not updated your operating system on your phone. So those are things that could be causing the problem because the majority of our people are not having the problem. However, if they're out in homesteads and they're far away from a tower, then when the bus accesses the tower and then there's a lag time between that and then it coming to the parent in their app and them loading it and seeing it, and it's out of our control because it's the cellular provider and when, how fast it is. I don't want to pick and choose, but if you have AT&T or you have T-Mobile, they may be really quick, but if you have, like one of the free services, you don't get priority on the towers. The people that pay money get priority on the towers. So that could be a problem, and we would have to address it individually. So if somebody does have a problem and they will contact us, then we will try to track it down with them and figure out what their problem is and correct it and see if there's anything that we can possibly do about it.
That also kind of goes with that lag time, the not in real time updates. Again, once the buses leave, well, it depends on where the bus is. There's a cell tower issue. There's whatever your equipment, your piece of equipment. My phone's like 2 years old right now, and we all know the minute a phone turns 2 years old or you make your last payment on it, whichever comes first, the phone's almost obsolete. So depending on what cell these people have, a lot of factors are going to go into those two things. Challenges on reporting incidents. I'm pulling a lot of this on a bus survey that was sent out. It was prior to when I got here, but I still have the access to the records. The incident reporting thing, that just technically is really a tip line issue, and the tip line is also on our front page of our website. So that would be something that we would need to address individually with those parents at each time to say, hey, that's not quite the place you need to do that. We do have a place for that, and this is where you would do that. Zoom feature. They do not currently offer a Zoom feature, and I think that app might be a little bit frustrating because you even mentioned this where if you can zoom in some, but then if you go into another part of the app and go back to that app, it puts you back out as zoomed out. Some people would like to zoom straight in like we can with Google Maps or something. We want to zoom straight in and see exactly where it is. So that is something that you could potentially go back to them and talk to them about.
The piece that I see that is web-based, if I zoom in because I want to see where one particular bus is, as soon as it updates, it takes me right back out to the big view. you do have a lock, or we have a lock at our administrative level, so that I can lock it, and when it refreshes, it keeps me right where I am. So if I'm tracking a particular bus or trying to assist a parent with looking at this particular bus and where it is or what's going on, that can happen, but that's not part of the app at this point. Whether it will be or not, I don't know. They continue to be really receptive to feedback. If we ask them or say that, this is what we'd really like to see, then if it's possible, we've had a really good response from them, and we haven't had a situation where they've said it can't do that yet.
And then accuracy, again, I think we've almost touched on that. These are just, when I looked at the data from that first report, these were the main things that people were having issues with. So we wanted to address them even if they were very, very similar.
Right.
Rosie?
There was a survey
Yes.
that went out last week.
Or,
Yes.
so how did that come back?
On Monday? Oh, the survey last week. Yes, I was gonna address that. And I have it pulled up here. So a lot of our, cause it's not complete yet, so I didn't wanna include this data. But we had 148 responses. 71% of those, no, let me go back. 72% of those have downloaded the app. If they chose no on that question, it automatically ended the survey because we need them to have used the app for this to be access the data. The apps, a lot of 71% had not used it to change their child's pickup location, because we did want to know for safety reasons whether that's a thing that people are using or not.
Was there a question on there, had they tried to change it and couldn't? Because I know that was a challenge last year, was parents were trying to go in and change it, and they were still having to call the school to have that changed.
I didn't add that one on there, but that's something we can look at.
Right.
And a little bit of a side note here, what I'm hoping to do for our website and for easier communication, and I've done it on our back to school link, the new link that I've put out. I'm doing video recordings of my screen, and I will walk people through, like the Johnson County maps, our interactive maps. I did a walkthrough of how to use that. A lot of people, you can give them written instruction all day long, but we're all very limited on our time. We all don't want to read. I mean, people just don't read. They just won't read the things, even if you do send them out. And even pictures. After a few pictures, they're like, So hopefully these screen recordings will be able to show people exactly what to do. It'll show them the buttons so that they are confident when they're doing whatever that is. And I've let everybody know on each department, if there is something that we need to create a screen recording on, let me know. If we think that will be helpful for our people, I think if you said, hey, these are the steps, watch this video, I think the lack of having to read something, and honestly, if someone's doing it right in front of them, might be a little bit better. So we can try multiple modes of communication, and I think that's just where we're at on a lot of these issues, is that either they're not taking the time to fully go through it, or they just don't have the time. You're all really busy. People are really busy. They just want it to be done for them. I think this might be a little bit easier for some people. But back to the actual survey results.
That was 140
Sir?
something out of a possibility of how many?
148, we have 448 people signed up for the bus app. So, but this did go out to everybody within the school.
So we have 448 people actually using the bus view.
Parent accounts. Yeah.
Signed up for it or using it?
Signed up for it, but it really depends. They may be signed up for it, and if they've signed up, they may get notifications, but they may not actually log in and use it to change unless they had a request to pick up their child or to do something different.
That's my job in here. People take some time. Did you get that? Okay.
Yeah.
So the accuracy, again, so I'll just make this real quick, and I can do like we did with the 4-day thing. I can put this data together and send it all out to y'all so you can look at it. But when it came down to the actual where they can kind of answer, hey, what did you like? What do you not like? That kind of stuff, it still comes down to accuracy. That's the biggest thing, is the accuracy. And that goes back to the cell tower issues, like the lag time. So I think that's just gonna be, I mean, and I love the app, just to say thanks for the app. This was a blessing for our family. So I know we always hear just the negative comments, because you'll talk about the thing you're happy for about a day until you become happy or upset with one other thing. but you'll talk about the things you don't like for the rest of your life. So of course, we always hear the most negative stuff, but honestly, on here, you know, you do have those, and that's something we do need to address, but it's not just totally negative for the whole app. You've got one here, it logged me out after a week, tech support called, was no help. So, if I can go back to that person, great, I hate that you called their tech support and they were no help, that stinks. But email us, maybe we can go back out to them, maybe we can try something else. So I don't blame those people, maybe they just didn't have that option before, but there is that option now. So that's my job and why I'm here, so I can tell people, hey guys, we have another option now. Keep trying. I know it's frustrating. I know integrating new systems is very frustrating, expensive, it's frustrating, and sometimes it doesn't work. It might take a couple of years. But as long as we can continue doing this and getting that out to people, the accuracy part, we can keep calling them and going, or
Right.
we can, I mean, I don't know.
If I know individuals,
AT&T
then we
is
can
just
work
not
on
the
that.
most focused company in the world, but
So what do you tell the person that their accuracy problem is because they got another phone? What do you tell them then?
I mean, what other solutions do you think there would be? I mean, we can go back to pen and paper, but even if we choose a different app, that accuracy problem is still going to be there. We can't go buy them a new phone.
But how do
we know that it's an accuracy?
I know, it's rough,
We
that's a rough
can't,
thing.
I don't think we can tell them they need to get a more. advanced
Absolutely
phone.
not.
Right.
Because
I will
we're
never
not
tell
paying
somebody how to
for it.
spend their money.
Not
I
even.
don't wanna tell them.
No.
What we can do,
Expect to be 100% across the board.
no.
I think you're gonna have, I mean, you're always gonna have, I always say 10%, that's usually, like, you're always gonna have those 10%ers that you cannot be
But everything-
100%
we can do
across the
everything
board.
within our control to make sure these people are communicated with properly.
So,
And if we
That's what
know,
these people are
if we
looking
know
for.
someone who wants the service and is having a difficult time, then we can research that and try to figure out and troubleshoot what their problem is. And if it does come down to that equipment, then we'll know that that's what it is. But if there's something else that's going on, then hopefully we can troubleshoot that and eliminate it and get them the service that they need. But we also are dealing with people, it's a small percentage of people that are struggling and having that problem or having the problem registering. And last year, when we registered, because we didn't start, you know, it was grant funded, so, or ESSER funded, and we did not start at the beginning of the year. So we did not start during registration like we are this year. I'm really hopeful that we'll see a big difference, because as people are registering or parents are registering, they're also registering for the bus program. That doesn't necessarily mean that they will download the app, because I've had people, you know, even in our smaller populations, our special populations, I know that my bus gets here, they come at the same time every day. We've got a phone that I can communicate with them if there's something that's going on. I don't want the app. I don't have enough room on my phone for the app. And I can't make them, you know, download the app if they don't think that it's gonna serve them or assist them. You know, they may just be happy because I've got a lot of families that their kids, they never come to pick them up. And the bus is, you know, is regular. We have drivers that are there almost every single day. And, you know, I have several drivers that haven't missed a day in years. So they know that that person is coming, and they know that there's consistency, and they never make changes. So they're not interested in the app because it's not gonna serve them. They don't, you know, they don't care.
may I make one recommendation? Because I know we're talking a lot of bus routes, right? We're talking about that pick up and drop off to and from home. But we also have a population where we talked about field trips,
Right.
athletic events, band, things like that. Because I feel like we miss it a lot there. Just coming from a parent who does have two kids at my son went on 2 different field trips, has special needs, and didn't scan at either one of those field trips. That's kind of anxiety ridden for me.
Okay.
When I was able to attend one field trip and wasn't able to attend the other field trip. So that was one of those anxiety pieces where in the elementary level, maybe the primary level, like
The adult was not checking to have him scanned on the bus?
he, well, they didn't take the badges. So he wasn't like, it's just about the management of the piece and the expectation that when you take these kids on a field trip, they should be badging on and badging
Right.
off. And so there was one field trip that thankfully, again, I have a great relationship with the adults that went, but it's not their job to use their personal devices to text mom to, you know, we're paying for a service where that really should go through that service. And then also an athletic child who does, you know, band and very distinctly remember it was midnight one night and her phone died. And I could not track her to know when she was going to be at the school to be picked up. So I went and sat at the school for 45 minutes because it's just one of those where I don't think it's being used to its fullest potential. So I get registration, all that, but at our athletic events, at, you know, Fish Camp, at Meet the Teacher, I feel like those should be pushed out as well, that if you have children who go on field trips, you may not need it for, because you take your kid and drop them off.
Implemented after school started this
But we
year.
did it at Meet the Bulldog, so it was done at Meet the Bulldog, which was before school
But I'm
started.
hoping too for our staff, because
Mhm.
that to me sounds like a staff.
Right, like give it to our coaches, like our coaches when they're having those parent
So
meetings, that
we
should be,
can make sure that that is communicated on the front side to our staff this year. That sounds like that's where that piece may have.
and you may be right, cause like the band director should be communicating that to band parents, like that should be a piece, that kind of thing, cause especially when they're traveling, or like our basketball boys who went out of state, like that should be something that.
I went on a field trip with our 8th graders to the Holocaust and I watched them.
Yeah, and I think it's very hit or miss. I just think it's the management piece, just to make sure that that expectation is set, that anytime you are taking a child on a bus, they should be badging on and badging off.
Okay.
Just, I mean, that's just my recommendation,
Right.
because and I'm sure the drop off
That's what it's for.
and the pickup is like our biggest piece, because that runs every single day, but we do have another population that we take these kids everywhere. I mean, and I love that. I love that we do all the opportunities, but.
Right. Okay, so I know you said earlier that it was ESSER funds that paid for it last year. What's the cost of it this year?
The renewal cost is $24,000.
When you take last year and this year too, do the combined cost and take it by runs per, like we did 12,350 runs last year.
Right.
We'll do probably just a little bit less than that, but if you look at like, maybe, so let's say we do 12,000 runs this year, if you break it down, it is assuming about 38 kids on each bus, that's a
At least,
mid
right.
number, I think that's a good median range number. You're down to like what, would you figure
Less
out
than 10 cents.
Less, like
Between 5 and 10, right.
0.06 cents per person on each trip.
Here's my main concern, and this is what has been my main concern. We have roughly 2,400 students in our school district, and you stated that we have 448 parent accounts set up, and there was only 148 surveys filled out. I don't feel that we are. To me, I don't see where we're getting the bang for our buck when it comes to that, because we're not touching, we're not even putting a dent into our student population of how many students we have versus how many people we have downloaded the app, not even downloaded the app, just registered for the app, it's 448.
Right.
And we got 2,400 students.
How many bus riders do we have? I was gonna say, how many bus riders do we have?
We have, on our highest day, I believe it was 1280.
1280? So about a third.
And we have also for that, there's a different amount for the renewal of each thing. And if we were to decide that we didn't want to use the parent app piece, that's a very small piece of the renewal cost. It's like, I think, $2 a student. So that, we would still have a pretty expensive.
$2 a student for 2,400 students or for 448 students?
It is for our entire, it's the entire district, because they had the option to use. And if they don't, so,
It's the same with, like your webs, I mean, every Parent Square, it charges for every student, whether those parents choose to use that app or not.
right. So even if we took that away, the other piece, which would be us tracking our student and using their online piece and field trips, which we use to schedule all of our trips, and our White Fleet vehicle usage, and also tracking our vehicles, where they are, and the maintenance of those vehicles. Those are all things that go into it, but we're wrapping that up all into one piece.
Yeah, and if I just may say, we visited at length on this with a lot of questions, because I know it's a good amount of money, but it's also a great feature. I think it's like with any other program, as you begin to implement it, we got a little bit late start on it last year, and this year we're gonna get, obviously, an earlier start. But I think you have to monitor it and look at it and see how it works. You can look at that with any other program, to see the effectiveness of it and make sure that it's working. And that's why we visited quite a bit to see what can we do to make sure that we're maximizing it. And that's gonna be our plan moving forward, to make sure that we do that. But there's gonna be some hiccups like anything else that you start. Our goal is to communicate out as much as we can, do another survey, just get more information out. I think we had looked at some.
Survey people to death.
Right.
The more we send out, the less, well, and not even that, just the send out surveys through whatever, because people will just ignore them when you send them out. We wanna make sure that they're done not too many times during the year, because for those of us that are gonna fill out the survey, we're always gonna do it no matter when it comes to us, because we know that they need that piece of information. Not everybody sees it that way. And so, I would say to get 148 responses, honestly, is pretty good, since
It's a good start.
we've got people emailing me that didn't even know we were doing a 4-day this year. So the communication is lacking. Y'all put a position in place, hopefully that's just, and it's gonna take time, but that's just something I have to keep pushing out. It's just gonna have to keep going out,
Right.
have to keep going out, and it's gonna sound so redundant to those of us that have already put it into place. You know, I've had one lady, cause I'm pushing out registration, pushing out information about registering. She emailed and said, well, I've already registered my kids. Did I do something wrong? So at some point, they go to, well, what's wrong, or this is not credible anymore, no, you're fine, we just need everybody else to get on board too. It just, that takes so long sometimes, so. And if you think that there's a better way to communicate with certain areas within our school, let me know, and I'm willing to, like, for our back to school bash, I'm gonna go and put hand flyers out up in the homesteads areas to make sure that area gets communicated with like they deserve to be communicated with. So if you know, because y'all are in this community, you know, let me know, and we'll figure out how to get that done, you know?
I think one thing that might be helpful too, like you mentioned that you were not able, that your student was not found. If the 4 pieces of information, your student name, student ID, birth date, and a 4-digit code, if any one of those pieces, for safety reasons, if any one of those pieces isn't keyed in and a match to the system, it's going to say that this student is not found. Because otherwise, we have people that could be logging in and trying to find your student, and if it confirmed and said, yes, this student is here, we found the student, but they're not a person who has all of the bits of information, then we shouldn't give them the information. And one of the things that's always going to be a challenge is the card that they get. It uploads to Skyward, and we send out to all the parents that the information that says this is your 4-digit code. It's based on their card that they scan. It's the last 4 digits of it. No one else can see it, but it's in our system. So if they lose their card or it gets damaged and we give them another card, that 4-digit code no longer works. Every afternoon or night, it is uploaded from the bus system to Skyward. So if they logged in, they could see it, but they're looking back at the original sheet. It may be 6 months later that they look at that original sheet and they try to log in and use that 4-digit code. It's changed, and they don't know or go forward. So if we can communicate that if it says your student is not found, what that means is that one of the pieces of information is missing, call us so that we can figure out which one it is.
Is that new? A new way to diagnose that problem?
No, we knew that that's what it was. 99% of the time, it's that 4-digit code, because they pretty much know their child's name and birth date. So it's either going to be that they miskeyed or didn't have the student's ID number or that 4-digit code, and the student's ID number they've had all the way through school. So the 4-digit code is the one kind of wild card factor that changes.
And that's when they just have to communicate that out. And a lot of people
Amber's dealt with it for a year.
then come in,
Because,
look at it.
and because it actually, when you go in and put, it says last name, you put the last name, put date of birth, it automatically fills in
Mhm.
where it's hyperlinked, where you can't even click in and change the student ID number, and then you put in the 4-digit code. I got 3 of them last year and none of them worked, so, no, that's not the case.
Did you call to get assistance? Because I don't think we ever talked.
No, ma'am. I left you a couple messages, but I did talk to teams a couple of times and some other people, but yeah, no.
So it's like a one-off, we would have to look, I mean,
And see.
he'd have to get his card, we'd have to look at that.
No, I mean.
So, or do y'all wanna see the 3 little maps come back? This just gives you kind of an idea of what it looks like on our side.
Because there's a lot that it offers that's not only the parent app. So when we're setting up our routing, this is one of our routes that goes out to, I call it Ghost Ridge, I think some other people call it, other things, but the ones that have the mountain names, that are up 157. So this is one of our routes, and all of those are students, and those red X's are where registered sex offenders live. That would be very, very difficult for us to go out and retrieve that information and keep up with it and know. But we definitely want to be careful and have, you know, drivers aware and be cognizant of where we're dropping off kids. You know, that's not to say that it can't be right there where they are, but I consider it very good information. I've had calls from parole boards that are looking at where someone wants to live, and they call me and they ask me to look up and see if we have a bus stop that is there, because it's someone who is a registered sex offender and that's where they want to live, and they will not give them permission to live there. But these are ones that already exist, so being aware of them, that's worth a lot to me.
The next one, any questions on it? This is her map where she can view everything every month.
Right, so what this is our field trips. So these are field trips that we took during the month of May. So whoever's the sponsor for the trip, they have a login and they go in and they create, and it comes to me and I approve it and assign a bus and look at where they're going and, you know, how many buses that they need, all of the information. So you can see that we had quite a few trips throughout the month. On the days that we had the most, the 11th and the 19th, it's either because of field trips or most often field trips and athletic trips combined. But this helps us to know where they are. And if you can see, I know it's difficult to see, but at the beginning, it will tell you exactly who it is that has that trip. And if I were to click on it, it gives me all of the other information, but we can see quickly by looking at it, the vehicle number that's assigned to it. We can tell who's assigned and where they're going and what vehicles. Like if you look at the one for the 10th, that is bus 205 that was taking the STEM students. And then on the 11th, that was a PEAMS conference. T3 is one of our white fleet. Then Avid that went to UT Dallas, they took bus 119. 114 was AP Physics, and I believe that was the day that they went to Six Flags, but I could be mistaken. T8 was testing to band and then softball. And so this is something that I'm looking for a solution for. You guys know if you have your child that competes in more than one thing, like if your child plays volleyball, and then they also participate in band or cheerleading, and we have to move them from one place to another after they finish their game, they're going in a white fleet. And the white fleet vehicles do not have scanning because it was going to be a substantial cost to add that to them. So I'm looking for a solution that will allow us to send those notifications to the parents without having to put the scanners, because it's such a small number of students that would be in the white fleet vehicles. But at the moment, those are not going to be trackable if they're in a white fleet vehicle.
So Melanie, when you have like all of these trips, are you going back and seeing like, okay, I can see that like band scanned, AP scan, but then I have like 2 or 3 buses that didn't use the bus view at all.
Right.
Are you spot checking those? Are we going back and like addressing those?
I have
Because
not.
I feel like it's only as good at like if the
Right.
expectation is there and like we're having those accountability pieces, because
Right.
God forbid something happen when you have kids and you have scanned them all on, or you didn't scan and we don't make it back with the kid.
Right, right.
So like just kind of, we're not doing that currently. Is that something we're going to start doing?
To follow up, it is something that we need to do, but it is going to require more than one person in transportation to do all of the pieces. It's just not possible to follow up. And I know that we need to, and to know who didn't. Usually what happens is it comes to me because someone lets me know, hey, we didn't scan. And so then, I go and follow up with those people. But to do all of that and the tracking is going to require an investment in transportation and monitoring what's going on and using the
Typically,
system.
you would have a dispatcher that would do that. And one of my questions for her when we met was, well, why didn't your dispatcher do this? We don't have one. And so that's something that we need to consider and look at to be able, all the logistics, all those folks that are going out and stuff, someone needs to be available to take all those. There's just a lot of moving pieces. That was new when I got that information. So.
Well, when we voted to take this little deal on, I guess a lot of that was done for the fact that it was gonna give her what she said was an exponential amount of time free money into something that not too many people are using. Sometimes at some point, we gotta figure out whether we're getting our bang for our money on this deal.
I don't know all the history of when we got this app and how it started and the great need for it. But I do know that, you know, many districts are continuing to use this now in the name of safety and also in the name of efficiency, whether it's an extracurricular or whether it's, you know, all these trips here that we're talking about. We want to make sure our kids are safe. That's the top priority. And so being able to use this makes it a lot easier than having to use a lot of other people to do that. And like I said, my experience is you have a dispatcher in your bus transportation. I don't know of any school districts that don't have a dispatcher.
Also, I can research other districts of similar size to see what apps they use and how many positions they have within their transportation department. So you can compare apples to apples. So we can say, you know, Rivas, they're similar, but I can look at several other districts around that are pretty similar to our size and go, well, they have 3 people in theirs, or they use a combination secretary for this department and this department to free up some time, because I know I've tried to call over before Melanie and there was an emergency on a bus and she has to immediately go out. So having one person in there leaves a lack of oversight sometimes because one person can't go out on emergency and do that kind of stuff. So I don't mind researching several districts around and seeing what they do to see maybe where we could find some solutions, or if.
So
Right.
we paid for this last year with ESSER funds. Is there more ESSER funds that we could use? So ESSER funds is gonna be used to pay for this again?
This time,
This year?
then it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, the biggest part was that initial investment.
Yes.
So we're just paying, we're just
More than
licensing
double.
at this point, you know, it's a smaller
Renewing our
portion
subscription.
of that subscription. It wasn't,
we
that
talked about
initial
that.
piece was larger.
Right.
So
Then-
But I mean, if we're gonna see how it works this coming up year, cause
I mean, that's what
we're
I'm
starting it all fresh, you know, at registration, cause apparently we got it out too late last year.
And we got it out last year, we got it out really late last year.
Yeah, we didn't have we didn't vote on it until I think May or June, so we didn't have the equipment.
We were just throwing it out there, and unfortunately, it goes off to a rocky start. I still think that, I still have a lot of hope for the program. I think, you know, I know the initial investment was large, but hopefully, as we work through this, we do a better job communicating, that I still think it's a really good resource, a really good service, because again, I can go back and think of the times before this, we had issues on buses where we had kids and other things that we could have, we were expecting human effort to prevent it, and it didn't happen. And kids almost got hurt. And this was supposed to be a program that I felt like it was something that was important enough that it could prevent that one time from somebody, and it will pay for itself.
Right.
But we're just gonna have to make sure that everybody
So-
does it.
That it's, and everybody
Definitely.
utilizes it, that wants to willingly utilize it and can. I know that some people probably aren't going to utilize it the way it should, but I really hope that this next year, you know, things start to turn for the better, and people start using it, and that we kind of work out a lot of that.
I think it's communicating it and then fixing it if someone has a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
It's your problem.
And just a clarification piece, that initial cost, that 56,000, a large portion of that was for the equipment, the tablets, all the things that went into that. The renewal cost is 24,000 and change, and I can tell you, because I've drove a bus, and when we talk about Melanie and having someone in place, do you have any idea how many times she has to drive a bus because somebody called in sick? So she's pulled away from the office. Darren drives a bus. We all hands on deck. But when I pull up to the primary and I watch 4 and 5-year-old kids pull their little tag on their backpack and go beep, they know what to do. It's just consistency, 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 because we all know some of the older kids are like,
Well, I think it's managing expectation too, because like I said, the to and from school, I feel like that is pretty, like that's pretty cut and dry. Like I think most people who put their kids on a bus in the morning and who kind of
And
track
those are
that.
those people that do that every day. Our bus
Yeah.
drivers
That's
seem
right.
to like
It's
have,
that to and
like
from,
they got
I'm
that.
talking about all those
Yeah.
extra routes, because
Yeah.
I know this right here, these are not bus routes, right? These are all of the extracurriculars
Right,
that we're
right.
seeing. And that's a huge population that we're putting on a bus every day that we're not consistently using field trip, and that's just anxiety, you know, that you wanna know where your kid
Right.
potentially, especially when they hit 2 or 3 different locations. But I think it is managing the expectations, and then also, we can't just put out there and not follow up, at least spot check 3 trips on the 11th, we'll just say 3 trips.
Right.
3 of those events, did all 3 of these consistently use the badge?
Scan
And
everybody.
It's not going through, like, it's just, I would think it would just be pulling up the event, checking and making sure that they were badged on and badged off, okay, it looks like they used it for that trip.
That they were scanned.
But, you know, those band trips and those athletic events, you know, I feel like, cause you're right, like, I'm sure if it's an everyday thing, but if you have a car rider who only gets on a bus for a field trip or whatever.
Exactly.
It's that teacher who also needs to be educated, hey, all of your students need to make sure that we have those badges ready for
Right.
that field trip.
And some of the money that we were talking about with all of our students, every student in the district has one of those cards, and they can scan at any time. So those have to be in the system that NFT has, so all of our kids are set up. It's not just those that are riding every day. And I know of one instance where a parent that had not chosen to download the app called because their child did not get off the bus. I was able to look up and see that their child did scan on the bus, that they did not scan off the bus. So I was able to radio the driver, and we found out that the child had fallen asleep. So, you know, they could have seen some of that information, but either way, even if they choose to not do it, we have that information accessible to us. We also had a student during summer school, a runaway, that she got on the bus that morning. At the school, they thought that she had gotten back on the bus, but we checked the app, and no, she had not. So we then began to look at that and, you know, and get our police involved in it and figure out where that student was and what was going on. And, you know, I stayed in contact with that parent. So it was very helpful to have that information, and it saved us some time that could, you know, that could, you know, be really important.
Did anybody else have any questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but a suggestion. Going forward, I don't feel like on a thing like this, we need to shoot from the hip and think we gotta hurry up and start it. Because that has turned a lot of people off. We didn't know as much as y'all thought y'all knew about this thing when we started, because it started so quick. We might should have took a year, you know, and worked on this thing and went through some scenarios where we knew it pretty good.
We did.
I don't think we did that. Now, call this other deal what you want.
We did a pilot, but what would have been the problem with that is that we had a certain period of time to use those ESSER funds, and we were playing with the end of August. We had to, correct me if I'm wrong, so if we had not done it and put it into place there and used those funds, we would have lost them. And it would have had to come out of the next year's, which may or may not have been an option. It would be like probably would not have been an option. And I also wanted to say to you about the saving time. It has saved time in a lot of areas, but with a lot of things, the more data that we have, let's do this, let's look at this. We put a lot of other things in, and there are a lot of additional asks that we didn't know that we were gonna have when we first looked at putting it in place. So, you know, while it has saved time in some areas, we're able to provide more information and do other things that we didn't even know that we would be able to do.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just final piece here, just on the superintendent report, just a couple things. We've got our back-to-school bash, which is coming up next Saturday, July 20th from 9 to 12, correct? Super excited about that. We've had, I don't know how many, Laura, quite a few donations, right? Really excited about all the folks that have donated for that. We also have our new teacher orientation that's going to be on July 26th. And then convocation will be on August the 1st. And then also on August the 1st, we'll have a Teacher of the Year dinner for our elementary and secondary Teacher of the Year. That'll be held in Keller ISD. And then Meet the Bulldogs will be on August the 11th. First day of school, August 7th. So things are fastly approaching. Really exciting time just to get geared up for this year. So I just wanted to give you guys some of that information.
Do we have updates on the HVAC? Are we rocking and rolling? We got air? Are we letting teachers?
Yes, we just today, all of our, or most of our administrative assistants were back, and some of the staff members are back on campus. And so what we're doing there is actually have a meeting with HVAC folks tomorrow. Everything is installed. on all the campuses with all the crane. I don't know if you see all that piece. And air is blowing in priority areas right now. They don't have everything hooked up yet, so what we've done is the priority areas were the front office areas. As of today, elementary was the only school that was blowing, but it wasn't quite cool, because I talked to Miss Box. She was trying to take care of her ladies there to make sure they were good. And I also talked to Ronnie about it. So the goal and the plan hopefully is to have all that cooling. Like I said, that's gonna be one of my questions tomorrow is, hey, we've got folks coming back again next week to start a new teacher orientation. So they're working as fast as they can. I've asked them to speed that up as quick as they can on that piece.
One last thing, our TSA group went to nationals, and it was in middle school report, and they put together a little something for their appreciation of the board and what all you guys have done to support them. So I want to hand these out real quick before you depart.
So, item number 23, board request for additional items. Next scheduled board meeting is August the 21st. But anybody, board request for additional items? Anybody have anything?
Just FYI, that evening we will have kids here and some of the projects that can be due.
On the 21st? Oh, cool. Okay. Okay. We will go to item number 24 and adjourn at 9:45 PM.